All right, Max, what are we reviewing today? Today we got um, a great one, a very cool one. Uh, Lavaz de Mayo Tato Rambo. A heck of a title. A lot going on here. But this is by Henry Barajas, and it's a cool story. It is about Ramon, who is just a super interesting character. You get to see a bunch of slice of life moments of this real world person, a WW2 vet, and then I'm going to read this part. M.A.Y.O, or Mayo, I guess, stands for the Mexican American Yaqui organization. I think that's how you say this. But they're a local tribe. They're a tribe, and so this is like essentially a big chunk of this story is Ramon, who is advocating for this tribal group of people in the Tucson area of America. And it's just a really interesting story. I think the really cool part about this, it's a it's a story about someone that could have been just completely lost to history, essentially, who played a really big part of this group of people maintaining their rights to their land, to their way of life. And the author obviously just has a huge amount of respect for the work. He got to meet this guy and interview him before he passed. This comic book, like, literally didn't come out until the real life Ramon died, unfortunately. So I don't think he got to see the complete work. But he, the author went to just I feel like a painstaking amount of detail and research in making this person's story come to life. He fills in some of the blanks, obviously, with I think like his best guess for historical fiction of sorts. But yeah, so I'll run through my patent pending scoring system. I gave this a real strong score overall, and we'll run through the individual pieces. But yeah, so not surprisingly, the main character of this story, Ramon, you see him here with a version of the artist himself. This is, I think, one of their interviews, one of the times meeting in real life, uh, depicted before he passed. We see excerpts from his life being in World War II, with his family, and then a huge chunk of this is it's him interacting in the red here with various politicians, local religious, uh, essentially assembling protests for people trying to bulldoze and build stuff through, like build highways through where all these people are living. Um, uh, so a ton of, I think, like, I'm not going to show all the pages too because there's some sensitive stuff as well. But just like you get a real slice of how politics in action works. Like this took an enormous amount of meeting with people, getting people excited. You get you get like so many angles of the community and the connectivity. Church groups, labor organizations. You also see, I think, like one of the reasons I really like this character, again, there's like self-referential parts where the author kind of keeps meeting with this character as well. I think like this book is fascinating because there's sort of like winning and losing that happens at the same time. The big political battle, without being, I don't think it's even a spoiler to say that yes, they ultimately succeed in like blocking all of these homes being destroyed and this community being driven apart. And at the same time, the main character here is like no hero exactly, or not in every aspect of his life. Like his home life is very bad, and there's I found it kind of this like probing existential question in a sense. Like, can you for the some of my best friends have said before, you can't get an A at work and at home, and this book sort of, like many many stories of famous people that change the world. Your home life coming at the cost of where you decide to pour your time, and this person in a selfless way seems to really devote so much of him to the people in his community. He's always at these churches and political events and arguing for rights and staging people to push back kind of and for this tribal people. But at the same time, it's clearly at the expense of him as a father, him as a as a husband, absolutely. So he, yeah, I'm rambling at this point too, but overall, I really liked the main character, and I liked how the author himself was interspersed throughout it. I love a well-rounded character. Obviously, some stories you want a hero that's sort of just like all good, and that's cool. But I love this complex picture painted of Ramon, and thought it was very good. I've showed so many of the artwork pages, but just to go back to like some of the ones I just showed, I love how color is used in this book. Like I think they do a great job highlighting different things and accentuating it, like what gets the light versus not. Like the facial expressions I always find fascinating as well. Ramon kind of has this like default like smug, happy sort of look, which I really like. I've already shown a ton of it, but the color's great. I find everything bold, contrasted, never too many words on a page. Like it's very easy to read. I'll get to that as well. But overall, I really like the art. It wouldn't crack like my top 10% of favorite like art for these types of novels, but it like definitely in the top quarter, I think, and I think really strong. And for the history culture score, I gave this a 7. You know, this is kind of bleeding into what I think is also increased for the X Factor score, but like you get like a ton of actual excerpts from this original like newspaper that was published by this community where they would like fight for their rights and if you wanted to, I mean, this is like, again, like you get like this cool graphic novel, and if you wanted to dive in deeper and like read the actual things that the historical pieces that came out at the time with like clippings and everything, like they did their research for this book. So I mean, I just love this as an archetype where you get the fun, exciting, character-driven story, and then if you wanted to dive into more details, you have so much stuff to read about at the end. Sorry, and I'm checking this mic, but like basically the last third of this book is not even part of the comic book. It's just like, it entices you to learn more about the history and the people that contributed to it. I just think such a cool idea. Like I'd love to see more books with this kind of a format where you almost like, again, in my practical view of the world, we're always a little bit too much on phones or taking the fastest route to get to the entertainment medium or whatever that we're looking for. I think graphic novels, they actually do require you to devote some actual time to it. It takes time to read a graphic novel, but obviously, maybe not obviously, but I think to most people, like reading a fun, colorful, bouncy story through the graphic novel thing might be what gets you to the buy-in to like care enough to like learn and read through a heavier text. So I think this is like your gateway drug back to books, is why I also love the graphic novel as an art form. So anyway, I think the history culture, the scope is not massive. We're not talking about like a massive war, immigration crisis. Like some books we read, it's like life or death stakes for sometimes millions of people. This is a smaller scope story. But still, I think like, strong culture, history score, they do it justice. The readability, I gave it a 9. I probably have already sort of shown it, but like, the actual graphic novel part, it's only 78 pages. I blew through this unexpectedly. I just started reading one night, blew through the whole thing in like an hour. It's a very easy read. This is the exact kind of thing you might want to give to someone as an intro to reading graphic novels. I think the only knock I had on it is there were some, I don't know how else to call it, but like some jumpy moments, like where it almost, like I don't know how else to say this, but like sometimes I would turn the page and I would feel like the jump was so abrupt from what was just happening to what is happening on the page that I would have to like feel and see if I missed a page in between. That being said, you can string along fairly easily what's happening in the story. So can't knock it too much. And last thing was the X Factor score. I think again for just the uniqueness of like they mentioned it several times. Like I think if the author didn't find certain key people that were older in the community, maybe some of this history would be lost forever. So I think like as a there's many books about like I forget what this was even called, but many books about leadership. One book in particular that's coming to mind. I forget what it's called exactly, but it's like a fifth dimensional leader or whatever. But these are like excellent leaders, and one of the points in the book is that maybe a lot of what makes the world run are these kind of people being hidden in plain sight that make the world go round, like people that are sort of selflessly killing it in their jobs or their community roles that keep everything working, and at the same time they are not the people on YouTube or TV, so they might not be well-known entertainment figures, they're not in the news maybe that much, or just in the local news, which obviously most people don't pay as much attention to. But this is such a cool capturing of one of these people, where it's like this could have just been a story that was never told, and who knows how many people have read it now, myself included, and I think that's so cool. So it might, again, also probes you to think about who are the other people around my life that might be like this type of a leader, and so I really liked that, and I think it's an X Factor part. So all told, a very good score. Definitely highly recommend. This is like the exact kind of thing I would imagine one could get folks interested in reading comics, and you see just a lot of awesome, again, for all the good qualities I just said. So highly recommend. That'll leave it there.